Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. I am Bob Van Buren, your host. Very glad you're here. As you know, each week I'm on the air. I have an individual guest talk about a very interesting topic. And so we all can all learn something. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button for the Van Buren Variety Show, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And that way you'll get updates of upcoming shows, maybe some specials along the way. And also, once you subscribe, get on the channel, click on the videos tab, and that way you can see all the past episodes that we've had. So make sure you don't miss out. So it's been a learning experience for me as well. Hope you've all had a great week. I certainly have. Pretty soon I'm going to be able to have a good night's sleep for the first time in almost a year. Got diagnosed with sleep apnea. So I had my sleep study about 2 weeks ago, like I told you all, and the CPAP machine, it'll be in next week. So yes, I guess I'll be looking like Darth Vader at night, but hey, if it helps me breathe at night and not stop breathing and gasping for air or snoring, I'm all for it. So, CPAP machine, if you not sleeping very good, I highly recommend one. I went to a sleep study and they put one on me and I never have slept better in almost a year. So, hopefully you won't need that, but just in case you do wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air or sore throat from snoring, that CPAP might be your answer to that. So hopefully you won't need it, but if you do, don't waste any time because it can cause health problems along the way, high blood pressure, maybe even heart issues. So be careful of that. So anyway, hope you've all had a great week so far. I know I have, but I got a question for you all, which will bring us to our topic tonight. When someone says the word sports, okay, what's the first thing that comes to mind when someone says something about a sport? What do you think of? Okay, I think of football. That's my game, but that's not the only one. If I want to really think about it, there's of course football, there's basketball, there's baseball, there's hockey, there's all kinds of sports up there. Volleyball. I mean, I can't name them all, but that's what I would think of. But did you ever think about video games being a sport? Some of you may be saying, no, it's not. Yes, it is. And it's growing in popularity even larger than I had originally thought. And it's called esports. And something that has caught on, not just in this country, but worldwide. There are tournaments. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There are actually scholarships for esports. So this will be a learning experience for you as it is for me. So I'm looking forward to talking to our guests tonight. So without further ado, let me bring each one of them on. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Evan McGraw and Ron Hamlin, who'll be talking about esports, kind of giving us, who are novices, more information about it. And hopefully some of you out there that get interested in this can get a lot of information from them tonight. So Evan and Ron, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Great. Thanks for having us, Bob. Appreciate it. And, a CPAP machine is almost definitely in my future as well.
Really? So you can relate, man. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom has one. She's got the snorkeler imprint on her face every morning.
Well, it scared me. I've noticed I've been having an issue, but like 2 months ago, I was dead asleep and I woke up in the middle of the night. It felt like someone had tied a tourniquet on my throat. I couldn't breathe. It was like the pathway was gone. I got out of bed, had to walk around and make myself breathe. And that's when I thought, okay, this can't continue. Right. That was scary. So yeah, I'm glad someone can feel for me there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real eye opener.
Yeah. So we're talking about esports. So I'll ask the same question for our live audience as I did. Esports. Just give us a definition of esports.
Sure. Yeah. Esports is competitive video games. So any style of video game that has two sides to it: Rocket League, League of Legends, Call of Duty, Smash Brothers, Fortnite. There are 20 titles that fall into the category of at least collegiate esports. Mm-hmm. And then basically it's either team-based or individual style games can fit into that.
Wow. And this isn't just like, I'm going to talk old school. This is not like your old Ataris or Nintendos, right?
Well, that's a great. You didn't touch on that earlier. We didn't touch on this yet. So in the Smash Brothers scene that we're currently running some tournaments in, there is the latest Nintendo Switch that has Smash Ultimate, but there's also a very large crowd of people that love to play Smash Melee, which is only, well, you can play it on the Wii, but it's initially a GameCube game.
Mm-hmm.
I know it doesn't quite go back as far as Atari.
Yeah.
But that is
I know, I aged myself with that one. I know.
GameCube is what, like 4 generations old, right? We went from GameCube to Wii U to now the Ultimates or the Switch. So yeah, that's still a game that is thriving. There are other titles that kind of fit into that category as well. I mean, League of Legends has been around for a massive amount of years
for quite a while. So. Yeah, but esports are played on all sorts of consoles, Xbox, PlayStation. But a lot of them are played on the PC or Mac, they're computer games to be specific. But there are all different kinds of esports out there. There are individual esports, one-on-one. There are multiplayer esports, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, 6-on-6, you name it. And when Ron and I, as a company, as Virtual Reload, are speaking to colleges and universities, or even middle schools and high schools about starting esports programs, a lot of it is we're educating them on exactly what esports is. Great reason why we're on your show tonight, Bob. Thanks for having us. You can. Yeah, absolutely. We tell them every time that you're not just adding or tacking on esports to your athletic department. You could have an entire esports department, created whole cloth, and have 50, 60, 80 players in your esports community at your particular school, and all playing different titles and things like that. So it's not just like one particular game or something very specific. There are a lot of different opportunities for you to get into esports, and there are shooters, there are sports games. FIFA is very popular overseas. Baseball, NCAA football, Madden football, for example. But there's also multiplayer online battle arenas, fighting games, things like that. There's a plethora of different titles out there that you can specialize in and get really good at. And as Ron had mentioned, there's about 20 and counting different titles that are offered scholarships at the collegiate university level right now in the United States alone.
Wow. I want to point that out to my audience. Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Scholarships are now being presented to people in esports. So this is something that it's grown, but it's actually growing more. And so how much scholarship would you say are out there?
Well, in 2019, there was $19 million of scholarships offered for esports.
Wow.
19 million. Yeah. And, a lot of the schools, like the SEC schools and things like that, are offering esports scholarships right now because they know that esports is up and coming and, it's on the horizon, and they feel like they need to. But we're seeing a lot of interest from smaller schools as well. And those programs actually have, very talented players that they're actually recruiting right now. The larger schools are just recruiting from their current student body.
Sure.
And so they're going out and saying, like, do you have good grades? Do you appreciate esports? Are you good at them? Okay, come and join the team. But what's missing right now, and one of the reasons why we created Virtual Reload, is that there is no path from being a very good high school player or middle school player to earning that scholarship at the next level. How are you going to get coached up in order to earn that scholarship or attract the attention of that coach at the collegiate university level? And is there a way that we can potentially increase the amount of scholarships that are offered at the collegiate university level? And so what we're trying to do is build that structural foundation so that there are more programs offered at the middle school and high school level, so that there are more scholarships offered at the next level.
Absolutely.
And so on. And I have something built into my contract with Ron where I say a rising tide floats all boats during every meeting or interaction that we have. So the more work that we do to spread the joy of esports around the U.S., the more opportunities there are going to be for kids. So what we're trying to do is educate everybody on the fact that this is definitely something that the student body is interested in. Kids all across the world or across the country are interested in. 80% of all of the kids who are playing esports right now do not do another extracurricular. So you
Really? Oh, wow.
multi-sports
Interesting.
athletes, right? So they'll have a fall sport, a winter sport, and a spring sport. The people who are interested and passionate about esports are not what you would call quote unquote multi-sport athletes. They're doing esports, and then they're also doing STEM technologies and science club and things like that,
Sure.
which lend themselves very well to esports. Or
Oh, absolutely.
so it's there's an entirely untapped group of like children out there that are already participating in esports that aren't getting that added benefit of being in an extracurricular that we could reach, and we could help with including them in this particular extracurricular that they're really missing out. And so it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why Virtual Reload exists.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's just say there's someone maybe watching this live or maybe later on, and they're a novice, and I'm pointing here too. And they're like, it doesn't matter if they're young or old or whoever, and like, you know what? I'd like to try to see what esports is about. And their question will be, like mine was earlier, like, okay, if I found a game that I like, how do I get that game? Do I download it? Is there software to download it? How do I get? What's the beginning level?
Sure. So you could start with console or computer, although at the higher levels of gameplay, it's all on PC, with the exception of those that are locked into consoles. Smash Brothers would be an example where it's only on Nintendo consoles, so you can't port that to the PC and play it.
Sure.
But basically every other title is going to be available on both PC and console. So you may want to first invest in a decent gaming computer. And then the game itself, you're either going to go, if it's a PC, you're gonna go to like an online store like Steam or Epic and purchase, or a lot of these, some games are free. Rocket League and League of Legends, Fortnite, all three of those at least are free to play, so you can just download them and then you just jump into the game and start playing from that aspect.
Okay. And then you mentioned your business. I'd like to talk about that, and we'll go on. But Virtual Reload. Tell us kind of about Virtual Reload, your business. Kind of what do y'all do, and how do you support the esports community?
Yeah, the reason I founded the esports coaching company of Virtual Reload was because I saw all this opportunity at the college level. There was pro organizations all over the place paying large amounts of money as salaries and or prize winnings, but there was a disconnect between all of that and the kid at 12 years old playing at home really good at their game, and how do they go from that living room game to the scene, collegiate or otherwise. So that's what we became a company to do, is to provide the pathway, the exposure, and the coaching to bring that student from that 12-year-old age on up through, and then put them in front of a college recruiter or a professional team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ron has firsthand experience with that, even prior to the company being started.
Yeah, there was. I'm a foster parent and adoptive dad, and I was also mentoring youth in foster care. And one of them, Chris, was about to graduate from high school, and I was asking him what his next steps were, and he was talking about going into the military, mostly because he didn't have another option. And so I introduced him to the Erskine College head coach, who turned around and offered him a $28,000 a year scholarship to go to Erskine and play the game Smite, which is a MOBA style game like League of Legends, just a smaller scene. And that opened up his world to what he could possibly do outside of just a military choice.
Absolutely.
Changed his life. Wow.
Yeah. and what it really did for me, like outside of the amazing thing it did for Chris, was like, I saw it as this is legit. Like, this really could happen for any student that gets in front of the right place and has the skills to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, Ron nailed it. They have the skills. There are so many skillful players out there right now that just have this untapped potential that isn't, really being realized at that next level. But there is so much interest in esports right now that, if you even have a modicum of skill at a particular game, you can potentially get a scholarship at the next level.
So I like to talk about that too. I talked about in my monologue how big esports is and how it's growing. So, can you tell my audience what is the what does this industry of esports bring in annually?
About $1 billion a year right now.
One that's billion with a B.
With a B.
Billion with a B. Yeah,
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
absolutely.
So that is,
Yeah.
it is huge. Wow.
Right. And we're really at the ground floor of esports as well, because a lot of that money is investor based. So there are a lot of big names that are pumping a lot of money into the esports community right now, expecting those returns because they know it's huge. Esports is already huge overseas. This is one of those rare occurrences where the U.S. is actually behind I don't want to say behind the eight ball, but behind everybody else when it comes to the maturity of the overall community itself.
That's surprising.
Esports is,
I guess so,
right.
Before we get too far off the topic of the
Mm.
titles that fit into this category, Gary asked a question: if chess and card games would be considered esports. I would say that chess is not an esport because the electronic chess is just a way to play chess in a way that is not, physical, right? So it's the same game that's been around for hundreds of years, but just ported to the screen. However, there are card games that fit into this. There is the Blizzard one. What is the Blizzard one called?
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone. Yes, thank
Hearthstone.
you. Hearthstone is a what they call like a trading card game. But it's only electronic. There's also Magic the Gathering has an online version of the game. So those kind of games are considered esports, and they you can trade the cards, or you can just build your deck and play with it that way. But like solitaire wouldn't be, your playing card style of games wouldn't be esports, but the trading card game style of electronic games would be esports. And are esports.
Y'all's website, is it virtualreload.com or is it /esports or just virtualreload.com?
Yeah, virtualreload.com is our main website. Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on the screen now just so people can see that while we're talking here. So,
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I definitely want to put that out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, watch the interview, but afterward, make sure you get on their website because you'll see a wealth of information there. I was very, very, very impressed. Why do you think so many young people are wanting to earn their spot in this industry?
So imagine being a huge fan of something that your whole life is told this is bad for you.
Gaming.
Most parents out there look at gaming as negative for their kids. However, as a kid, that's something that they absolutely love. That's kind of part of their identity. That's just something they do. So imagine now hearing all this time, this is bad, to now all of this acceptance. Hey, Mom, I could go to Clemson, or I could go to Erskine, or I could go to Georgia State, and I could get an esports scholarship to go to these schools. Well, now it makes it something that is a positive change for them. And it's also just like when you play an analog sport like football, soccer, right? You're not just learning how to kick the ball around on the field. Right, you're learning all those other interpersonal things. How are you coachable? Getting along with your teammates, good relationships, all of those kinds of things that individual gamers miss. They lack that, right? There is a lot of situations where people are toxic because they get this ego about how they play. But if they are kind of molded into that, you've got to treat the others with respect. You've got to treat others kindly. Otherwise, you can't be on the team, right? Because what happens in the NFL when there's even a slight opportunity to, discourage the other player, right? You get fined or benched for the game. There are ramifications.
Unsportsmanlike penalty.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what esports provides is if you're going to be on the team, you've got to be, you got to play correctly.
Absolutely.
You got to be sportsmanlike and all of that. So.
Yeah. So like the esports community right now, it's very much built from the top down. So there's a pretty good professional esports scene going on right now. There's a marginal collegiate esports community going on. And a lot of the coaches that we interview and that are for hire on our website and are part of the Virtual Reload family are either former collegiate players who played in college, actually created the program at their college, and helped coach up a lot of the other players. Each one of them, to a man, will tell you they don't spend as much time coaching the actual game right now than they do just being a psychologist, for example, right? Because a lot of these players, as I mentioned, they're not recruited out of high school. They're already going to the school, and then they have a proclivity for the game, and they're brought into the particular team. They very much have a big fish, small pond attitude. They're not used to being on par with all the other players in the room. So they'll all of a sudden look to the left and look to the right and go, oh, this guy's just as good as me. They're not used to that. They're not used to having to work on a team. They're always used to being the best. So there are a lot of anecdotes that we have from some of the coaches that we brought on where they said, look, I've had to completely break down this player and build him back up in order to make him a better team player, somebody who can thrive in a team-based atmosphere. So if that's something that we can bring to these esports players before they turn 18, right, which is the starting college age, right? Get them to be better team players and become coachable and things like that. It would pay dividends for that player individually.
Let me ask you a question about the games. We mentioned playing with other people or against other people with teams. So in a typical game, pick a game, can there be as many players all at once playing this at once? Is there a limit? Or
there is a limit to some extent, and we kind of touched on this earlier too. So in a game like Fortnite, the lobby is 100 people. So you get 100. It queues up 100 people at once to go into the same map and play against each other. But in games like Overwatch, you're only going to have 10 total people, 5 on each side, in a specific lobby scenario. But when you talk about a competition, when we host a tournament, right, we can have multiple individuals or teams competing in that tournament, and they'll just play multiple matches to get through to determine an overall winner.
Right. Yeah. There are about 20 plus different games that are offered scholarships at the next level right now. So there are more esports out there than there are a variety of the more analog sports that we talk about. And they're all different kinds. So like Ron had mentioned, there's the free for all, every man for himself, 1 against 50. There are 3-on-3, 5-on-5, 6-on-6. There are the individual games where it's 1-on-1. There's a huge variety right now. And, anytime that we approach a college, university, middle school, high school, what have you, and we tell them, or they're interested in starting an esports program, we tell them, you're not just tacking on an esports team to your athletic department, you're creating an esports department. And there are going to be players in all different varieties of games that are good at particular things, not so good at others, that are interested in particular titles and not others. And you couldn't potentially fill an esports department with 50 to 80 players, depending on which titles that you have. Wow. And there are a lot of schools that have really caught on to that, Oklahoma University being one, where they offer a lot of scholarships, not just not just for players, right? But they also offer majors in all different aspects of the esports experience, right? Think about everything that goes into putting on a game at your local high school for football. Friday Night Lights, right?
Yeah, right.
You don't just need the 22 players on the field, right? Of course, you need everybody on the bench, but you need coaches, you need referees, you need the scorekeepers, people doing play-by-play, recording everything, cameras and things like that. And Oklahoma University right now offers a major in all of that, in production for esports tournaments and things like that, graphic design, creating all of the graphics leading up to the events themselves, and then post the event, creating graphics that way. It's a huge industry, and it requires a lot of moving parts, but there's a lot of opportunity for anybody who's interested in video games and esports.
And on a personal note, I would like to see this catch on more, because we are in the 21st century. We're very technologically, it's growing every day, and so this is something I think that every college and high school should take advantage. Well, you had mentioned middle school should look into. I think the sooner, you mentioned them being 18, they're right when they're starting college, but if we can get these children, these students involved sooner. I mean, they're getting a jump start on their career. So I'm hoping, any educator or any administrator that's watching this program, I'll hope you keep that in mind.
Yeah, just like in the football program, you're not going to pick up football as a freshman in high school and be at the skill level by the time you graduate to be able to get a college placement.
True.
Right? You're going to start in the youngest league available.
Start them young.
In order to get to that level. So just like that, we want to catch them young. Gary asked a valid question, right?
Yeah. Do the kids have regular courses along with the esports courses, just like other majors? Good question, Gary. What say you, Evan and Ron?
So the answer to that is, you look at an esports scholarship just like a football scholarship. So when you go to a college on a football scholarship or to be on the football team, you don't study football in your classes. Right, your football scholarship is paying your education in pre-law or med school or any other major you could look at, right? Computer science, right? So esports is the same way. You go to school, you go to that college, and you are on the esports team with a scholarship that pays for your classes that you're taking to study any individual major that you would study.
Okay, that's a good question, Gary. Thank you. I have a video, Ron, that you sent me on a link, so I'm going to share that with my audience now. So this kind of gives us more of a taste of your business.
Okay.
So let me bring that in there.
You're muted.
Yep, I'm muted. Almost. I made that mistake a couple of weeks ago, but I was like muted for a minute, and it was like embarrassing. But no, that video reminds me of the old saying, if you're doing what you love, it's really not a job. It's not work. And so I saw all the happy faces in that. And if those people grow up and get into this as a career, I mean, they're going to be getting money for something they enjoy doing. So to me, it's a great career move, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you hear football and basketball players all the time saying it's the greatest gift they've ever been given. They're paid millions of dollars for playing a kid's game. And essentially, yeah, that's right. It's a kid's game. So, why isn't that opportunity also available to esports players as well? Gary asks, are there opportunities for homeschooled kids? Absolutely. Yeah, there are opportunities for homeschooled kids right now to participate in the analog sports. There should also be that opportunity for them to participate in esports leagues as well. And that's one of the things that Ron and I are working on right now, putting together these leagues. So, just to toot our own horn for a second here, to Ron's point, if you want to get a scholarship at the next level, playing football or baseball, basketball, what have you, you're not just going to play for your high school team, right? Because they only participate one season a year, right? If you're really serious about it and you have the skills to do it, you're going to be playing travel ball, things like that, a year-round program. And that's one of the things that we're also looking at putting together is year-round programs. So the club aspect of esports, which we actually think is going to take off a lot quicker than some of these programs at the school level, because there's going to be less bureaucracy around it. But
sure.
The demand is there. This is one of the very unique spaces where the demand is absolutely there and the supply is lacking so much.
And
So
it's growing. It's only growing. I can see.
it's only growing. Absolutely.
I like to tell you. I like y'all to tell that story. We talked about this before we went live. To me, this is an interesting story. And ladies and gentlemen, this brings up the point again, just how big esports is and it's becoming. We talked about the scholarships. Y'all talked about your virtual reload business, your coaching. But I'd like to hear this story from my audience. Y'all, there was recently a tournament, and there was a grand prize winner. So who wants to tell this to the audience? But ladies and gentlemen, this is a great story. So listen to this.
Ron?
Take that one, I guess. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So Fortnite, well, actually, Epic Games, who makes the game Fortnite, held a tournament, a World Cup in 2019. And it was mostly, the funding actually came from the unexpected influx of money that they made on the game. And there was 2 prize pools available, both at $30 million total. 100 people participated, and even down to the 100th place player, they were making like $5,000 on the event. So the kid who won everything, 16 years old, came in first place and won $3 million. And then from there, he was able to buy his mom a house. And putting that into the overall sports perspective, that was more than what Tiger Woods won that year for golf and the Wimbledon, all those other individual sports that happened. Like that was like the biggest prize that was given out.
Let us let that sink in. This 16-year-old young person won $3 million.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Didn't need to go to school. He's found his career.
I was born too early, I think.
Yeah, indeed. But also to kind of give you an idea of how popular esports is worldwide. One of the other things that we talked about pre-show was the League of Legends, which is a particular esports title. Their league championship series garnered more viewers this past year for their particular tournament than the Super Bowl has. And they have had more viewers year on year for like the last several years, and it's not even close. It's very much an international competition, but it blows the Super Bowl out of the water, and that's just unfathomable to anybody in the U.S. right now who's like, Super Bowl Sunday. They're talking about making Super Bowl Monday a holiday, right, for everybody who stayed up to watch it. But if you can imagine any single event drawing more viewers by a lot, it's a lot more. Then it's unimaginable. But
kind of had a question. Doris asked, "What's the scholarship?" But I guess maybe I'm reading the question. Maybe she's asking, "How would one apply for a scholarship?" I think that's how I'm reading the question.
So she asked an earlier question too that I want to kind of address here, and this is one thing, right? If your child is very much into gaming and it's at a level that maybe it's just because it's what they love to do, and they're going to go to college, right? And you're like, well, you're not going to play games in college. They're going to probably find a way to play games at school, right? They may find a dorm buddy that has a game system. They may whatever, right? And in those situations, that gameplay could be to their detriment, right? Because they're spending too much time playing. They've got to, hide it away and things like that. Versus if they're in that same school, that same space, and they're on the esports team, like they were on the football team. Now they have to keep their grades up. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to stay on the team, scholarship or not.
In other words, that no pass, no play, basically.
Right, exactly. So that from just that perspective, the gaming of their life turns into from a negative to a positive. And the other thing is that if that's what your child is into, like you can't really like, I mean, yeah, you can force it, but they may not like it. Like it's another way to relate to them, right? If you can come to their level into that game and either play with them or put them into a situation where they're relating to other kids of their age that are doing the same game, it's going to be a huge positive for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect example. Ron and I had run, summer camps this past year, and we didn't. It wasn't just esports focused. I mean, that was the main idea, was they were, focused around a particular title. But while they were there, we also taught them a lot of other things, everything production wise that went into putting together an esports tournament, of course. But we also taught them cybersecurity. We taught them coding because, the kids who are into esports also are very much into the STEM fields, right? The science and technology and math field as well.
That's a good thing. Yes.
And it all lends to each other. And, of course, we also included an opportunity to for physical fitness as well. The more physically fit you are, the better you're going to be at your particular game.
Sure.
And, keeping, taking care of yourself. But what also happened was that we were reached out to by somebody else in the industry who said that they were looking for participants in a cash tournament that they were putting on for a particular age range. And we said, well, you're in luck. We just so happened to have finished a week of camp in that same particular game. Would you like our campers to participate? And they said, that's exactly what we're looking for. And so the Saturday after the camp was over, we had some of our campers that were particularly good at those particular titles come in to the same space. Since it was Saturday, their parents were able to come, and the parents set up behind their kids at their particular stations, watching them play these games. They were getting into it. They were rooting their kids on.
Oh, that's great.
And then at the end of it, they didn't even know that there was a cash prize. We said, your kid just won $250. They're like, are you kidding me? Really?
Amazing.
That paid for the camp. And then we also told them, oh, hey, by the way, your son is in middle school right now. By the time he graduates high school, he could probably get a scholarship for this at the next level. And they're like, you've got to be kidding me. It opens eyes, and they're incredibly proud of their kids. I mean, they're watching them play these games all the time at home anyway.
Sure.
Now that they see that they're, working towards something, putting that effort towards, participating in this community in these tournaments, and that it's actually building towards something, like Ron said, that's something that they can, bond over.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So.
Oh, you mentioned. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
Another way to look at it is it's just a vehicle,
Mm.
right? It's a pathway for them to open doors. And the other thing is too that if you have a football star in your hands, right, the chances of them actually earning a significant living in the NFL are pretty small, right?
Mhm.
And versus an esports player, they may not make the pro team. Okay, that's also the percentages on that are kind of similar to the other sports, right? But if they don't make the team, that does not mean that they're not going to make money in the realm of esports.
Absolutely.
Because they could very easily shift themselves to becoming a streamer. They could do other career pathways in the esports world. They could go to tournaments without being a pro player and still win money. There's multiple ways that they can still earn income. Whereas if you don't make the NFL in football, you're not going to make money playing flag football at your church league.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to make a career out of that. So if you don't make the NFL as a football player, you're done, right? Versus
That's it. Yeah.
what's available for players.
Yeah, but have you also ever heard of any there are semi-professional football leagues out there, folks, bagging groceries and then going to play in their semi-professional football game later on that night, making a good living, and then going back to bagging groceries the next day?
Right.
Not necessarily, but you can do that with esports. You can work a full-time job and then log on afterwards and participate in esports, and whether you're streaming or participating in tournaments.
You mentioned something earlier that I'm kind of interested in, and I'm sure that maybe the parents and grandparents watching would be interested in, as well as the young people watching. You mentioned camps, having a camp earlier. Tell me more about the camps. About how many did you have in your last camp? Or what's the average size of a camp for these esports?
Yeah, we held 2 weeks this past summer. There was a very last minute planning, so it's kind of fun to do. And we had 20 kids in each week of camp.
Oh, wow.
And we taught them, as Evan kind of alluded to earlier, we taught them everything from cybersecurity to all the aspects of running a tournament. We had some mindfulness meditation going on. And every afternoon they were spending time with our coaches in either Rocket League or Smash Brothers, depending on the week we were talking about. And then they ran their own tournament at the end of the week. So that was like the exhibition of what they learned during the week.
That was the final product, right?
Do you see the camps growing? I mean, is there a room like you have a lot?
Well, they will. Like that was our first week.
Oh, that's the first one.
That was our first experience with doing it. But we're already talking about, we've probably got currently 4 weeks booked for this coming summer to do different ones, including an all-girls focused camp.
That would be good. Absolutely. We don't have a question from Jean, but she made a good comment. I'm going to put that on the screen. Jean said, this is something that combines so much computers, art, thinking skills, so much, and keeps them off the streets or from drinking in the dorm. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Exactly. That's another thing is playing games. So a lot of parents look at the game. Not, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are parents out there that look at the time their kids spend on games as not good for the child in some form or another. But I would challenge them to look at it from the perspective of what are they learning in that game, whether it be a game that is teaching some level of economics in the sense of real world applications directly from what they learned in the game, or from the aspect of problem solving. That's where it was. That's problem solving, learning systems. An avid gamer is actually going to make a better employee than someone who's not so much into that level of games.
Absolutely.
And then
competition too. They're learning to be a competitor in this world.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because StarCraft, which is a real-time strategy game, is one of the types of games that are out there. The whole first half, I guess you would say, like if you were to divide like a football game up into quarters and everything like that, the whole first half is about managing an economy. Right, you're building units and you're putting together an army so that your army can face the army of the person on the other side. But it's all about essentially building up an economy. How are you going to spend these resources as they come in? And the professionals are so good at it; they have it down to the millisecond. They know exactly when these are going to tick over. So, and they're planning all their steps, multiple steps ahead, like chess. Right, but it's all happening in real time. That's why they call it real-time strategy. So it's a lot about logistics and strategy, and not just manipulating everything with your hands and hand-eye coordination, but it takes a lot of that planning to be involved in it. So there's so many applications to it, and yes, everybody. Almost everybody who's involved in esports has a proclivity for the STEM field that they almost go hand in hand.
Can you give us a rundown on some of the games? Some people may not have heard that, like the term Fortnite or some other games that you play. So can you just give me like a real summary, like a scenario, what the game is about?
Well, goodness, that could take a long time to go through every title. So we'll just talk about Fortnite. We'll just talk about the style
give
of
us a Reader's Digest version. What's the point, or what's the goal, I guess you could say?
Fortnite, you drop into a map with about 100 other players, and you don't have anything on your person, on your character to use except for like an axe. And that axe, you can go up and hit someone with it and melee them, or chop trees and things like that to get resources. Your goal is to go and find chests in the map to get your weapons and ammo and shields and things like that. And then you build walls and ramps and everything like this. And your goal is to be the last man or woman standing.
Last man standing. Yeah, exactly.
So you have to, you don't have to necessarily defeat 100 other players, right? Because everybody else is out for themselves too.
Yeah.
You can win a game by, only killing 8 people potentially.
Have you seen Hunger Games?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. It's every man and woman
people.
Yeah,
exactly.
No such thing as a team in this game, right?
Yeah.
Wow,
You're not a team.
That's great. And another game like Call of Duty is a war style game. You're all military. I think even if everything that you use in the game is a real weapon that you could find or buy in the real world today, right? So, and then you're either in a team. I guess there's solos in Call of Duty as well, but typically it's a team, and you're going to capture a place on the map and hold it and gain points, or there is an all-out just kill the other team more than they kill you kind of thing.
Yeah. Everything that exists in esports right now kind of has an analog for the traditional sports, and some of them are just exact cut and paste replicas. So every one of the analog sports has an esport variant. So there's Madden football for the NFL. There's a basketball variant. Hockey, you name it. There are fighting games. So fighting games like the Smash Brothers, which we had touched on earlier, Street Fighter, and what was it, like Mortal Kombat isn't as big, but Dragon Ball Fighters I think may actually have a scholarship to it where it's just one-on-one and then you're fighting against one another, and again it takes in all the strategies of boxing, right? You have to know when you need to attack, when you need to defend. There's a very unique game right now called Rocket League, which is a combination of soccer and RC cars. Right, so
that
you
sounds
can be
interesting.
1-on-1 or 3-on-3, and you're an RC car, but there's a ball in the middle of an arena, and you're trying to score in a soccer goal, essentially. And yeah, it's huge, especially overseas. But there's a lot of interest in that right now. And then there are also very specific games to esports, like MOBAs that we had mentioned before. It's an acronym MOBA that stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. And what it is it's a top-down. You're a character on the screen. It's two-dimensional, and you're on a team with several other folks. It's usually 4 other people, so it's usually 5-on-5, and you're competing against the other team for control of the map that you're on. You've got a map behind you.
What other game did you compare this to the other day that I thought was a really great comparison?
I don't know.
Did you call it chess-like? There was another game that you said that like League of Legends is similar to, and I don't remember the analogy.
Oh boy, that League of Legends was similar to.
Yeah, because it was about capturing the center of their base. I don't know.
Oh man.
Okay.
In one ear and out the other.
It was great. It was a really great analogy.
It was a great analogy. Yeah. But
you remember when the show's over, be like, "Oh yeah, that was
exactly,
it."
Exactly. But what's great about it is that the characters, they're not all the same. Everybody in League of Legends, for example, has a different job to do, right? So there are some folks that are.
There you go, Iron Fist, that's supposed to capture the flag.
Capture the flag, yeah. There are some folks who are supposed to be the offensive players. There are some folks that are defensive players, and then there are other folks that have specific jobs, and then there are other support people, right? So you have to. Part of winning is not so much you just being the best at your character, but how your team gets along. And a lot of times, if there's one person that's out of sync with the rest of the team, that's the entire game.
It's the weakest link, what they call
Exactly.
the weakest link.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Wait, let's talk about your business now. I'd like to kind of promote your business called Virtual Reload. I'm going to actually bring it up there. Tell me kind of how long have you been in business, number one? Number two, how did you, but this is for both of you, how did you get interested in esports? How did that come about?
Yeah, so we started about 2.5 years ago. Prior to me founding Virtual Reload, I had not even heard the word esports. I've been playing video games pretty much my whole life, but I'm more of the casual role-playing game player like World of Warcraft and those style of games.
Sure.
But I'm also a foster dad. I've adopted a couple of boys and mentor youth in foster care. We mentioned Chris earlier. And seeing there was an opportunity for kids to get a college education paid for through esports or earn money at the pro level in esports. And I also saw that there was a how do I get there from here situation. So I started Virtual Reload in order to reach those younger gamers and give them the opportunity, the coaching, the team experience, and the competitive experience, so that when they did graduate high school, they would have that leg up in order to get a scholarship for a college or even the professional level.
That's awesome. So are you all both actively calling like middle schools, high schools, colleges? Are they coming to y'all, or how are you getting the word out that all this stuff is available now?
Yeah, we are. We've been working on getting programs started directly in some of the schools in our area. We do that process of just networking and calling them to do so. So yeah, it's been an uphill battle, that's for sure.
Do you go nationwide? Is it all over?
We can. We actually have coaches. Our coaches are located all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah, we got coaches across America, in Italy and India and the UK currently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no limit to where our coaches can be versus how they connect with our clients. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we can do individualized, one-on-one coaching right now. If you have a child who's particularly good at a certain title, you can go to virtualreload.com right now and find a coach and get them coached up on it. What we're trying to do is establish a long-term relationship between that coach and that player so that they can, work on achieving a particular goal and have essentially a mentor style relationship with that coach, working them through the auspices of that particular title. So, yeah, my background was that I was a swimmer growing up. So I started swimming since I was 5 and swam through college. And my professional background was in business development for IT. And the company that I had worked for prior to moving down to South Carolina had actually sponsored professionally some esports players. And so I got a little exposure there, and seeing that there was actually the possibility for professional esports players. And then as soon as I came down here, met Ron through a networking event where he said he was working on an esports company, and I thought this is something I had to be a part of. Yeah.
In other words, it's not really, like I told you earlier, it's not really work if you're enjoying what you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to show another video that y'all sent me. I'd like to share with my audience. So I'll make sure I can unmute myself when this is over. So,
okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's another video for you from Virtual Reload. Hope you enjoy.
See how quick they are with their movements. Can we talk over this or narrate a little bit?
I can hear you when you're talking.
Yeah, so just to give the audience a general idea of what's going on right now, this is video from tournaments that we run on a weekly basis. It's called Super Smash Brothers. And this is one of those titles that is player one-on-one. So you can see the players actually in the top left-hand corner. We're streaming them at the same time that we're streaming the game. And so this is the analog to boxing, essentially, where these characters all have very unique characteristics to them, and the players are trying to strategize on how best to beat the other player. I think it's a best of 3, so whoever wins best of 3 out of the match is determined the winner. They're fighting on a platform right now, so there are a couple different ways that you can best your opponent: by knocking them completely off the platform where they can't get back to it, or you see their health bars at the bottom. If they run out of a particular amount of health, you do a certain amount of damage to them, you'll also win. So now you see the score is 3-2. And it ticks down. So the player who just got knocked out went from having 3 lives to 2. It goes from there. And I was...
one character is, I believe he's a Street Fighter character that's playing on that right now.
Yeah, so I was telling Bob about this earlier, but you look at this and you just see a bunch of flashing lights and then throwing punches at each other. But the players are... they're anticipating the movements of their opponents, and there's actually a lot of strategy going on right now. You'll see them with the glowing orbs. They're taking a defensive posture, right? Because they're anticipating a hit coming, so they're gonna try and block it. And they're also anticipating what they're going to do once they get out of that block. They're also grab, punches, kicks, and things like that. That when you're watching this with a very good Smash Brothers player, they'll tell you exactly how they've analyzed and broken down what their opponent is trying to do. So they'll say, for example, the player in black is a very defensive player. The player with the white pants on is a very aggressive player. So he's going to try and get in close and really grab you and use short range attacks and things like that. So you have to change your Kazuya, exactly. You have to change up your strategy a little bit. So it it's like boxing, but at a whole nother level. There's so many other different variables involved in it that it's really interesting to see. And there's no real limitation to what moves and things like that they can produce, because it's not based off of your own athletic ability. And it's in a game, so
There's never a dull moment, looks like.
exactly. No, exactly. But just like every other sport, once you get good at it and once you practice it quite a bit, it starts to slow down. So if you've played a lot of Smash Brothers right now, then that would everything that took place right there, you'd be able to analyze each individual action and say, okay, I understand why he did that. That was a mistake, but then he recovered pretty well and he went on to do other things.
Iron Dogger even said the preparation for these battles too is quite detailed.
Yeah, we wanted to actually speak to that a little bit, because when we talk about these games and the skill level that it takes to play them, they are analyzing the moves that other player is making down to the frames, and they make that, like, the really, really efficient players will make decisions on a move to make based on how many frames it takes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah, and all those choices that they were making prior to the match actually kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a controller, there are a lot of different buttons, right? And there are buttons that you press with your thumbs. There are buttons like trigger buttons you press with your fingers, and then of course the joysticks. And what the better players do is they will reprogram the controller so that buttons do certain things. There are defaults, but if you know going into it what character you're going to play, and you know that you're quicker on the draw with your trigger finger than you are with one of these buttons, or there's a combination that you have to do in order to get there, they remap what those buttons will do in order to be able to carry out those moves faster. Wow. So like
custom,
like I said,
basically.
You customize it, just like a really good player would customize any of their equipment, right? You'll get cleats with deeper tines in it, or you'll bend your hockey stick a little bit more so that you can get a better wrist or things like that. Once you get to those higher levels, that definitely exists in esports. And so when we see some of the better players come to our Smash events, you'll see them do that, and it's just so quick how they do it, and they're in and out of those menus right away because they know exactly what they need to do, and they have a feeling based off of who they're playing against, what character they're going to use and what they're going to need in order to map their controllers to. So there's a lot that goes into it, but again, they're very skillful. They're very passionate about it. They're all smart individuals. They deserve that.
Very intelligent. Yes, I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. They deserve those same opportunities that the other extracurricular participants have. So we're there to help them out.
And I would speak to anybody watching this, either live or watching this later on this YouTube. If you're a school administrator, professor, whether you're middle school, college, high school, please look into this. And if you want more information, I'll put their website up again. That is virtualreload.com. So this is something, we got to think about the new generation, because we live in a very technological society now. And, this is something that is growing. I don't see a bunch of, quote, layoffs or, downsizing. I don't see that happening in esports. So, well, Ron, is there anything else? Is anything else I'd like to add about your business or about esports you'd like people to know?
Yeah, there's one more point I'd like to make.
Okay, please.
And that is, and I heard this on a podcast, which is another kind of like level of opening my eyes to what the power of esports is. When you look at someone who is a football fan and they watch football, they may not play. They probably don't play football, but they watch it, right? Versus someone who watches or plays an esport, Smash Brothers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, what is the purpose of the NFL games? And that comes down to entertainment, right?
Absolutely.
People like to watch a game like football be played. When it comes to esports, ultimately that's what it is. It is entertainment. People watch it because of the enjoyment. Even if you play the game title that you're watching, they may be doing things that you can't do or don't know how to do, right? So it's still a high entertainment value for people to watch, and that is ultimately what is driving this industry, is the attention that it is getting, the eyeballs to watch it, and that's why it's so popular, partly.
It's only going to get bigger. And so
Yep.
I think I would encourage a young person or whoever to get in now, ground level, especially, take
Right.
advantage of your youth for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you have no idea which opportunities are going to open up for you at the next level if you're good enough, and that's part of what we're doing. We're not just coaching, but we have the connections with those coaches who have established programs at that next level as well. So if you get started early enough, or you have the skill level, and you'd like to get recognized for it, you'd like to use it to your best capabilities, reach out to us. We are that opportunity for you. We're that pipeline to the next level. That's what we're
Absolutely.
working on.
Well, Evan, Ron, I really appreciate y'all being here this evening. I know my audience learned a lot, but you were also, I guess you could say, training the trainer. 'Cause I was learning a lot myself. So this has been a really good eye opener and very interesting. And like I said, I really hope more educational facilities in this country take advantage of this while we can. So I think it'd be a great opportunity. So good luck to both of you, and I'd love to see
Thanks,
y'all
sir.
back sometime to kind of give us an
Appreciate
update
it.
on how things are going.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Great to be
Thanks
here.
for having us,
Do that.
Bob.
Have a great evening.
Yeah.
You too.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for tonight for the Van Buren Variety Show. I'm certainly glad you joined us. I learned a lot. I told you every week we have interesting subject from various individuals, and this was no different. And again, it was just esports is the way to go, and I think the new generation can really take advantage of it if they're interested. So again, learning experience. I'm glad you're all here, and make sure you didn't just watch this video. Make sure you like this video, and then tell and share it. If you can share it, let other people know about it, and let them know about their website too, the virtualreload.com. And I'm sure they would appreciate it as well. So that's going to do it for me tonight. I am Bob Van Buren. Make sure you like and subscribe, as I said. I will see you next week with another guest with an interesting topic. And so we will see you then, and I hope you have a great week. Good night, everybody.